हां, झालं. झालं का? त्यांना सांगा नंतर फोन करतो. Hello, am I audible? Okay, we'll start with the today's session. So, good morning, all. This is session for 102 organizational behavior, and I hope now more students will be joining the session. Okay, because already we have given 10 minutes of extra ample time to for everyone to join. So, I'll just share my PPT. I hope you all are able to see the PPT, right? Yeah. So I think till our last lecture we have completed up to the models of OB. Okay, and we have decided about various types of models, that is autocratic, custodial, supportive, collegial, and system model. So we have also gone through the various differences in those models. So anyone have any doubt till then? Yes, yes. Prachi, I guess you were not there for last session. Yes, Prachi. Okay, have you gone through the slides that are available on e-content tab? So students, whoever were absent in the previous sessions, should please log in to your account given by institute and just go through the e-content notes that are available on the website of college. Okay, so you'll be able to just cope up with the syllabus whichever till then completed, and if in case of any doubt, you can just come to me. Okay, I'll just quickly revise about the models. There were five models that we have studied in previous session, that is autocratic, custodial, supportive, collegial, and the system model. So the basis of all the models were different. Like autocratic was on the basis of power, custodial was on economic and financial securities, custodial model was working on the baseline of leadership. Then collegial model supported the sense of being a partner in the organization, a sense of partnership, and the system model was all about trusting the community. Then the approaches were like managerial orientation in autocratic was like having a power and authority, in which all the things that are set by the management uh, were to be followed by the employees, and uh, whatever the boss says, employees had to listen to that and follow his instructions completely. The obedience and employees orientation were like they have to listen everything, they have to work as the management says. They didn't had a choice or option to put forth their views and points or any ideas which they have. Whereas in custodial, everything was like money oriented, managerial focused on providing financial securities and benefits so as to retain their employees. But it was beneficial for those employees which were very much productive, but in case of less productive employees, the situation was like on the negative part on the for the organization. And your employee orientation for custodial model was like they were very much financially benefited and secured with respect to their job. Whereas in supportive model, the managerial orientation was to give a proper support to the organization and provide them with whatever things required for their overall progress, and in this way they were working. Here the performance of the employees was very much up to date, as they were made felt like they were part of the organization, and hence they were working continuously due to the support of the management and improving their job efficiency. Now next, in collegial model, it was like having a sense of teamwork and partnership. Everyone was treated equally, and there was a collegial is itself meaning that everyone were colleagues on the same platform, on the same level, and hence there was less, you can say, differences in their levels, or they were treated equally, their opinions was equally mattered by the organization, and everything was going well. So here the responsible behavior was observed from employee point of view, and also the teamwork was very much flourished in the collegial kind of model, wherein everyone was treated equally. Okay, so there was no one who would be called as a boss, and no one there was who would be called as a superior or a sorry, low level worker. So in this way the things were working fine. Now in the system model of organizational behavior, it was more about caring, having companionship, and creating a psychological ownership in the minds of the employees. So here again there was a sense of responsibility that was been observed, and there was a kind of good relationship that was formed in the organization between the employer employees employee employees and the managerial people and the employees. And hence the organizational employees used to feel like they were a part or partly the owner of the organization, and hence they worked in such a way that like they were used to give their 100% of output at workplace. So in this way the system model worked. The psychological result from the employee point of view was in autocratic, like it was more dependency on the bosses and the management. Again for custodial, as they were providing financial securities, it was more dependent on the organization. In supportive, it was like a kind of partnership that took place between the employer and the employee. In collegial, as everyone was equally treated and had a part of job role that they have to work upon, so it was kind of self discipline approach observed. And in system approach, as everyone was treated or made psychologically behave like they were part of organization, owner of the organization. So here the self motivation was there, which led them to work more productively, more efficiently, so as to do something from their side for the organization. So self motivation was observed over here. Next is employee needs met. So in autocratic model, it was like more employee had to be under the boss. They have to listen everything. Their needs were not considered. They have to work on lower wages. They have to listen regarding everything like working hours, financial things, everything was under the control of the boss, and hence the employee needs were met at a very minimum level. But whereas in custodial model, though employees were having little free workspace, but here the financial securities was the important thing that was met by organization for the employee. So financial security was the important need at that time, which was fulfilled by the organization. Then the status and recognition. In supportive model, the status and recognition of the employees were taken care of. They were recognized upon their performances, and whatever they are doing, that all the things were considered, they were given importance. Okay, and in collegial model, self actualization was there, something to do from their side. Such kind of feeling was being observed, or things were being observed in collegial model. And system range, as they were psychologically owners, they feel like. So here there was wide range of scope for the employees for meeting their needs. In case of, you can say, training, development, financial securities, open workspace areas, and in every sort, you might say. Now talking about the overall performance of these models, then autocratic model, the comparative to all other systems, the performance was very low, because here the employees were continuously under pressure. Then in custodial model, it was little passive cooperation, means you can say not 100%, but it was comparatively good as that of the autocratic one. Then in supportive model, awakened drives, means employees were motivated. It was quite positive results that were being observed. In collegial, it was a moderate enthusiasm, means employees were working well. They were cooperating, they were working in team, and everything was coming together as a package. Next, in system model, the employees were more committed, more passionate, and more productive. So in this way, these were the differences and different kinds of models that are been observed from industrialization till now. day by day, depending on the situations, depending on the scenarios in the market, industries, industry to industry varied, and they started adopting various new practices and implementing those new practices in their day to day business life. And these gave rise to these various models, which were timely amended, and timely changes were made in them, so as to come up with more positive side, and more productivity could be taken place. So in this way, these were the models of OB. So I hope you all have understood that. I think we have also done about the challenges. So I have told that there are various challenges at various levels, that is individual level, group level, and the organization level. You can just go in deep and detail later on. I have already explained this part yesterday. Sorry, day after to day before. So you can just go through it, and if you have any doubt, you can just ask me. Now, after that, the next part is evolution of OB. So, evolution of OB is all about how the subject came into existence and how it initiated. What were the instinct that made this subject rise and everything. So, when this industrialization started back in 19th late and 20th starting century. So what happened, the employees were continuously working to earn their bread and butter, and at the same time, sorry, at the same time, the industrial employers, means the people who were into manufacturing and who started their organizations, they made these people work under very rigorous conditions. Means there was no proper wages given to the employees, no proper healthcare facilities were available for these employees. They had to continuously work under pressure. The working hours were not fixed. They had to work for more than 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, and breaks were very limited. They have to continuously work. There was no scope for their opinions, their thoughts, their views. They were not given importance, and there were many dangerous calamities that could take place in the workplace, because they at those times workplace were not safe. Not precautionary measures were available at the industrial places, wherein if any kind of accidents take place, some remedial action could be taken. So such kind of situations was there, and due to unavailability of cleanliness and other such things, the diseases were also there, which created up pandemics and all. So all these intolerable conditions were there when this industrialization took place, and due to this, the motivation level of the employees was going low and low. Retention rate was decreasing, and employees were not happy, and hence all these impacted on their level of motivation and satisfaction of the job. And ultimately the result was like they were not productive. They were not able to give their 100%, and this all again impacted on the organizational productivity. So at that time, during this industrial revolution, many people, or you can say many management thinker, came up forward with various innovative, you can say, theories or ideas, and they started working upon it so as to make something good, do something better for the employee, create a good workplace for them, and hence this management theories came up. So during initial period, people worked under very intolerable condition of danger, disease, etc. So diseases, dangers, everything was there. So during industrial revolution in 1800, Robert Owen first emphasized the human need of employee. Means he was the first person who focused on the employee need. He refused to employ young children. He taught his workers cleanliness and improved their working condition. He was called the heel father of personal administration. So the Robert Owen was the first person who identified or who focused on the employees' need, and he was the one who didn't allowed or supported the young children to work at his organization. So he didn't supported this idea of making young children work in the industry, and he refused to employ them. He worked with his employees. He helped them and covered up them with the habits of cleanliness, improved their working conditions. He made them basic required facilities at the workplace. And due to his approach of working, which help employees for the day-to-day betterment in the workplace, he was known as the heel father of personal administration. Next was Andrew Urey, who facilitated the provision of tea, medical treatment, sickness payment, and ventilation to employees. Means once one person comes forward, slowly, steadily, others also are there who try to take care and try to do something better for the society. So later on, more and more people came and contributed in this field, and then after, Andrew Urey was also one who provided, or you can say, who facilitated the provision of providing tea, or you can say beverages at workplace, then providing medical treatment in case of anything happens, or providing sickness payment, which we call nowadays sick leaves, right? And also the ventilation facilities to the workers, because previously workers used to work in a very perforated area with very closed environment, which created ventilation problem, and slowly steadily they had to face some lung related diseases. So he was the one who came up with such sort of things. He also published his books, his book named as The Philosophy of Manufacturers in 1935. Then came up next was the Frederick Winslow Taylor. He was called as the father of scientific management. He also put forth various theories related to time management and all, and which was very much adopted by industrial people, and hence he was known as a father of scientific management. He has contributed a lot in the field of management. Then after was the William Gilbert. In 1914, he published his work, The Psychology of Management, which gave emphasis on human side of sorry human side of work. Means it was much more related to the perception of the employees as a human while working, and these all things, their way of thinking, their perception to take things, and every small aspect was considered in this book named as Psychology of Management. Next was the Elton Mayo. He's one more very much well-known and famous personality in management. Elton Mayo in 1920 and 30 studied human behavior at work at Harvard University. So the study was conducted at the Western Electrical Company Hawthorne plant. So, this study showed that the worker is not a simple tool but a complex personality interacting in a group situation. Mayo is called as father of human relations. So, when this Elton Mayo started working, he was working at Harvard University. He completed, or you can say, he studied his part of work in the Western Electrical Company in Hawthorne plant. So he was studying there all about the human relation, the relationship between human and human, or you can say employee employer, and the employee and the management. So from his study, he found out that the employee or the worker is not a simple tool which just comes and do the works which has been allotted to him, but it is a very complex personality which interacts within a group, with the group, with individuals, and the entire thing comes together, and that just becomes the output. So all these studies were related to the psychological aspect of the humans and their personalities, and hence he was studying all those relationship related to human behavior. He was called as the father of human relations. Next is in 1940 and 50, major research projects were developed in Ohio University of Michigan and Ohio State University. In those days, when this human behavior at workplace, this topic was very much flourished. Various universities and states started working on this approach so as to make a workplace a better place, and so that the industrialization would more flourished in a better way. So in 1957, Douglas MacGregor presented the theory X and theory Y, in which alternative assumptions about the employees were formulated. According to these theories, management personnel practices, decision making, then operating practices, and even the organizational design flow from assumption of the human behavior was observed. In his theory, he put forth various aspects of human behavior, how he behaves, what motivates him, what dismotivates him, and all these things were studied very deeply. Various theories were aligned with them, and various practices were studied, how the operating practices were there, how the decisions were taken, how was the impact of certain decisions. Everything was studied in detail in the theory X and theory Y. So the theory X assumes that most people dislike work and try to avoid work, so that the management is forced to control and threaten employees to obtain satisfactory performance. So this is what is you can say told in theory X. It assumes that people don't like to work and they try to avoid the work, and hence here comes the management in picture to force them and to control them and to threaten them, so as to make them work, or you can say make them perform satisfactorily, means ample output should be there. Then theory Y assumes that the employees will exercise self direction and self control if the management provides an appropriate environment. Means if you want to make your employees work very efficiently without any force and without any control, you have to provide them appropriate climate and conditions so as to make them work efficiently. Otherwise, if you're not going to provide them with appropriate climate, you won't be able to achieve the appropriate expected output from them. So this is what has been taught in the theory X and theory Y. Now we'll come to theoretical framework. Now this is really, it is you can say more core part of the subject. In theoretical framework, we will study the various aspect of human behavior. So the models of OB can be developed on the basis of the three theoretical frameworks. Okay, so these are the three bases, or you can say theoretical framework, on which various models of OB are developed. First is cognitive, next is behavioristic, and third one is social cognitive, or you can also call it as learning. So, whenever we say the word cognitive, it is something related to being or relating to certain things. Okay, we'll see that in detail. So, if you'll see any models of OB, all these models are working on the basis of these three aspects, that is, cognitive framework, behavioristic framework, and the social cognitive or the learning framework. So, we'll see one by one. So first is cognitive. This approach, that is cognitive approach, gives more credit to the people than the other approaches and is based on the expectancy, demand, and incentive concept. So when we are talking about the cognitive framework, it is all about studying the employees in such a way that this approach considers that if you give certain credit to the person working under you, then that approach is based on the expectancy, demand, and incentive concept. Means you have to everyone will have certain expectancy, that is, someone will accept something against his work. There will be certain demands, and they will also expect certain incentive for the work done. So, and it can be done when you have to and it can be done only when the credit is given to certain person. So this approach is all about the expectancy, demand, and incentive. So in the cognitive theory, there are again sub theories which are studied. So first is expectancy theory, as we discussed in the above line. So it describes internal processes of choice among different behavior. It is, you can say, whenever we are talking about expectancy, it is all about expectation. So how internally the processes goes on amongst different people in their mind, and how the mental processes goes on while choosing something, it is all studied under the expectancy theory. Means while choosing a certain thing, or if you are given certain options, now which point or which thing you will choose, and how is the thought process behind choosing that, is studied under the expectancy theory. Are you all getting this? Yes. विष्णु वाघ, निकिता गावडे. ओके, कळतंय ना? सो एक्सेप्टन्सी थ्योरीमध्ये आपण काय स्टडी करतो, की एखादा व्यक्ती एखादी गोष्ट चूज करताना कशा प्रकारे थॉट प्रोसेस असते, कशा प्रकारे तो विचार करतो आणि काय विचार करून तो एखादी गोष्ट चूज करतो, ह्याच्या रिलेटेड, ह्या प्रोसेस रिलेटेड जो स्टडी आहे, तो आपण एक्सपेक्टन्सी थ्योरीमध्ये करतोय. ठीक आहे. इफ यू थिंक दॅट टू मच इंग्लिश इज देअर अँड यू आर नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टँड, जस्ट पोक मी इन बिटवीन. I'll explain that in Marathi as well along with English, so that it will be easy for you to understand. Okay. Now, expectancy theory is about the mental processes regarding choice and choosing, or choice or choosing. It explains the process that an individual undergoes to make choices. So while making any choices, how the individual thinks, what does he admires, what does he takes, what input process goes on, what is then his impression about certain thing, and how the finally choice is done. So all this is studied under the expectancy theory. In the study of organizational behavior, expectancy theory is a motivation theory first proposed by Victor Vroom of the Yale School of Management. So, this theory was first studied by whom? This theory was studied under the motivation theory and proposed first by the Victor Vroom of Yale School of Management, and he was one who put forth his thinking and thought processes, and then he put forth this theory of motivation. So again, after expectancy theory, the next theory that is considered under cognitive approach is the equity theory. It describes how and why people react when they feel unfairly treated. Means, see, I'll just give one example how you can relate this theory. See, if two employees are working in the organization, and both are performing in a similar way, or equally they are performing, and one is been treated very good, and his work is appreciated, and compared to other, he is not that much appreciated and recognized for his performance, though both of them have performed equally. So in this case, what happens, both will react in different way. Okay, so how and why they will react is studied under this equity theory. So it describes that how the people react and why they will react when they are unfairly treated in the organization. It is studied under the equity theory. I hope you all are getting these points. Next is goal setting theory. It focuses on how to set goals for the people to reach. Means it is about all linkaging the individual goal or organizational goals and collaborating them so as to make benefit of it to both the individual employee and the organization as whole. So goal setting theory is all about setting goals for the people to reach at certain stage in their life. So all these three theories, that is expectancy theory considered under motivation theory, then equity theory and the goal setting theory, all these three theories are considered under the cognitive approach of organizational behavior. So any doubt till then? Yes. Yes. Come on, if any doubt, please ask me. Okay. Vaishnavi, then Bhakti Pokade. Yes. Any doubt? Mayur, Neha Zadav, Gavde, Poonam Khamkar. I hope you all are listening to whatever has been taught. Just don't log in and move away. Okay. Next is behavioristic approach. Now, this is the second approach while designing the framework. So, behavioristic approach, it is based on the study of four primary areas of behavioral sciences, that is individual behavior, group behavior, organizational structure, and organizational process. So whenever we are going to study about the behavioristic approach of the employees working in the organization, we are going to primary focus on these four aspects, that is individual behavior, group behavior, organizational structure, and the organizational process. While studying these areas, for the purpose of individual behavior, we are going to study about the personality, perception, attitude, and the job satisfaction. So these will be the parameters under study, or the areas under study while studying the in sorry while studying the individual behavior. Now when we are going to study about the group behavior, we will consider the aspect of group dynamics, that is group structure, how group reacts, how the group is working, how is the coordination, and every aspect of that will be studied under the group dynamics. Then the politics and the role of leadership in the organization will be again considered under the study of group behavior. Then organizational structure, it will be leading us to study the area of job design, impact of stress on work, and decision making processes. And these things will be considered while studying the organizational structure. And the later part will be of communication chain and organizational culture and climate while studying the organizational processes. So these will be the part of our focus while studying this approach. Now, next is the cognitive, social cognitive or learning approach. So, it is used in the psychology, education, and communication. People do not learn new behaviors solely by trying them and either succeeding or failing, but rather the survival of humanity is dependent upon the replication of the action of others. So, can anyone explain that? What does it mean? Yes. The second para, which written or starts in red, can anyone please explain what does those four line means, or what do you have got from that? Yes, anyone? Pranav, Abhanga madam, or Javaya? Yeah, means whenever we see certain behavior, yeah, right. Yeah, so these four lines only says that ki whatever behavior we observe, the people are behaving, right? Or if the person is behaving in a certain manner, it is not the behavior which he has learned from his childhood or carried out with while growing with himself, right? Or with his parents, or with his siblings. Whatever behavior a person possesses, it is not like he tries to behave like that and then he succeeds or fail. It is all thing of humanity and survival. Whatever the person behave, it is dependent upon what the person in front behaves with him. Whatever the behavior is observed, is it is just a replication or response of the action of the other person. Means if the person is behaving continuously good with you, it doesn't mean that person's behavior is good. It is like you are doing something good to him, or you are being good to him, and in reaction of that goodness of yours, he is behaving good with you. If something goes wrong, or if the person is not happy or angry with certain things, he will react in an anger. So it is the replication of the action which has led him to get angry. Karte ka? Yes. So whatever the person behave, it is, yes, it is not about he trying to behave in that way. It is just the replication of the action or the reaction of the action done to him by the others. Okay, so that is what is studied under the social cognitive study or approach. So depending on whether people are rewarded or punished, for their behavior, and the outcome of the behavior, that the behavior will be modeled. Means whatever the behavior that has been possessed or been posed by a person, it will be depending on whether the person is awarded for his behavior or the person is punished for whatever he have behaved. So whatever he will behave, it will be outcome of this either situation. So, social cognitive theory is a learning based on the ideas that people learn by watching what others do and will not do. So, these processes are central to understanding the personalities. So, whatever the behavior that has been observed by the people, it is only because of whatever they have been watching since past times, and whatever they have learned from their experience. It is all the output of all those things when it comes to the process of understanding and reacting with others. Okay, so this is the process of central to understanding the personalities. Means depending on this aspect, you can study and understand about how the person behaves, why does he behaves in certain manner, and with the help of this aspect and small points related to his behavioral approach, you can study the personality of the person. So in this way, the social cognitive study comes into picture while studying the personality of the people working in the organization, so as to design the work area, so as to give them certain opportunities or make them lead certain projects or works, so that depending on their personality, their approaches of behavior and understanding the things, he will be able to carry out those works allotted to him in a very appropriate way. So that is the reason the social cognitive study or the theory is been led to come into picture for organizational behavior approach. Okay, now limitations of OB. OB can't abolish conflict and frustration but can reduce them. So, OB is basically studied to control or study the human behavior of at the organization. And once you are going to study the human behavior at the organization, you will be able to well control them. So, that is the reason OB is considered for study in the management faculty, right? So, OB is a study which can help you to understand the people, control them for creating or getting involved in conflict and frustration. But you can't completely abolish that conflicts and the whatever grievance that will take place. So means though OB will help you to control that, but it will not completely abolish the conflict and frustration that takes place in the organization. So this is one of the limitation or a drawback of OB. It is only one of the many. Okay, it is just one of the many disciplines, many system operating within a large social society. Means there are multiple things that are going on and working in the organization when we called organization as a society, and OB is just a small part of it, not the entire you can say operating system that goes on in the organization, but a small part of it. So sometimes using of many OB concepts at the same time, many cause confusion in employee minds. Means there are various concepts that will be studying further in the organizational behavior part. So it will be related to human behavior, it will be related to covering up the conflicts and frustration, managing the stress of the employee, implementing the change management, and various more concepts will be there. But implementing multiple concepts at the same time within the organization and over the employees will lead to create kind of confusion, and you can say they won't be able to clearly identify that what they have to actually do. So creating or using multiple concepts in the management or in the organization related to OB might create confusion in the minds of employees. Next is people who lack ethical values could use people in unethical ways. Now, see, though using OB, you try to create some kind of positivity or some kind of sense in the mind of the employees, as they are again a human, right? But there will be certain people who won't tend to change, and they will be stagnant with whatever behavior they were possessing previously. So you can't change certain people, and you have to carry them with you as they are. So if such people don't have a lack of ethical values in them, they are going to behave unethically in the organizations. Means certain people will won't be under your control, and they will tend to behave in an unethical way. So this is one of the drawback of OB. So with this, we complete the first part, or you can say the majority part of our unit number one. So till then, if you have any questions, you can just ask. After this, these are certain slides which contains the questions of previous question papers of Pune University. So it was more about like such statements are there, and you have to explain those statements or give your comments. So such kind of questions might come if the exam goes on for a theoretical base. So like people influences organization and organization influences people. So explain the following statement, or like differentiate between the cognitive behavioristic and the social cognitive framework. Also support them with the relevant examples. So such kind of questions are there which comes under the study and for your exam also. So you can just go through it. The slide will be there present. You will just sorry, you can just go through it on the website on e-content tab, and you can have any, if you have any doubt, you can just come and ask me. So till then, whatever part we have completed, if you have any doubt, just let me know. Yes, any doubt? And please go through the PPTs. It might happen that you might get the points while being learned from my side, but afterwards, when you start studying on yourself, you'll get difficulty. So if you have any doubt, just let me know. Go through the slides and just keep on reading, because though this subject seems very simple to understand and you are getting easily the points, but it's very difficult to write, or very difficult when you it comes to multiple choices, right? So I'll be sharing the multiple choice questions also with you all. So if in case your exam goes online, it will be helpful to you people. So I'll be sharing that also, but till then, just read the theoretical parts, go through the small points that are been mentioned, and if in case of any doubt, you can just ask me. So with this, last 5 minutes, if any doubt, just ask me. Yes, I don't think that I should take any names today, right? Vijay Devadiga. Vijaya Devadiga. Yes, Vijaya. Unmute yourself. Vaishnavi Kade. Tejas Bhosle. Unmute yourself. Hello. Are you able to hear me, Vaishnavi? Vijaya. Okay, students. Yes, same PPT is available on the content tab of the college. You can just go through it. Only one small correction is that there is written as like the subject is for 2 credits, but it is actually for 3 credits. Means there will be evaluation for 100 marks, 50 for internal, 50 for external. For 50 marks, we'll be getting assignments soon, and for 50 marks, we'll be having university examination. So it might be a theory written exam, or it might be a online exam. That depends on the situation. But till then, you just have to keep on studying, because don't be dependent that the exam will be online, because situation is continuously changing. It might happen that everything goes rightly and you have to write the theory exam. So be prepared for that. Okay. So I hope all of you have understood whatever been taught today. If in case of any doubt, you can just ask me, or you can ping me personally, or you can ask in the later sessions. So with this, I conclude today's session, and thank you all for attending the lecture. Thank you. You all may leave the meeting. Thank you.